Alright, what's poppin', people? We're back. Same day as yesterday's recording, but you know what? This time we're not recording in the morning when I just woke up 20 minutes ago, so hopefully I'm sounding a little bit more excited. Kinda hard to tell with me, but that's okay. Anyhow, got another game from NUPL. Another Week 7 game, this time between Alpha Rabbit and Gold Cat. Now, much like the ADVNU game we covered, between Jasu and whoever they faced, Rosie Bear, we got another game. This game's got multiple crucial 50-50s, and I guess I just like torturing myself trying to explain the thought processes that each player would have to be running through on such turns. So we're gonna cover another video like this, and I hope y'all enjoy it. Of course, as per usual, if you've been enjoying the content, man, drop a subscription. I'm trying to hit 5,000 by the end of the year, and I think we can do it. However, I need the help of you, unsubscribed viewer, so lend a hand. Of course, leave a like if you do enjoy this as well. And yeah, let's get into this. So, looking at the teams, Gold Cat's team it's hard to put into words what I'm thinking, because not a lot of the sets, but one of the sets, Braviaries in particular, I'd look at preview and always assume sub bulk up. I just feel like it fits really nicely there. But it's not sub bulk up Braviary. We'll talk about what its set ends up being when we get to it, but that was a little shocker to me. And then Alpha Rabbit, his team's interesting. It's very standard, but as we'll see when we actually get into it, there's quite a few moveset differences that from preview I don't think you would discern. And it's all going to be because of one little change on this Vaporeon. Let's see how that ends up working out. So Duraludon versus Salazzle. Technically, Duraludon does not die to a flamethrower from this. However, any other fire move it gets cooked by. So you're always going to have to switch. And we're going to see Vaporeon met with Stakataka here. And that is the freest Scald ever. There's no real status absorber on Gold Cat's team. If you were to go Rotom, you can always protect there, and you're pretty safe. Anything else you're just not worried about. So letting rocks go up, annoying, and we'll actually see them come back to be a little bit of a pest about 60 turns further into this battle. But again, not the end of the world. Here we're going to actually see there is the Ice Beam, and this gets a freeze on Sylveon, but the more important thing to note, that means this is not Heal Bell. We are not running Wish, Heal Bell, Ice Beam, Scald, Vaporeon. That is not real. I don't acknowledge that as a set. And no Heal Bell is going to mean a couple things, of course. One, it means this Escavalier is probably not Rest. Rest Sleep Talk could still be a thing, but given what Escavalier have been running lately, in particular in the Dragalge meta, which this battle is from, you're probably not going to be Rest Talk. You're more than likely going to be Rest Sword Stance to attacks. I guess we saw Rest Talk Sword Stance as well, but I don't think you want to waste a whole bunch of turns being asleep without a clear, personally, so that's just a me thing, I guess. It also means, of course, this Mudsdale never wants to get poisoned. It means this Vaporeon never wants to be poisoned. It's weird. I hate Ice Beam on Vaporeon solely for that reason, but I guess not the worst. And we're going to see Mudsdale switch in. The freeze going away immediately is, of course, great for Gold Cat. Not seeing an item on Mudsdale is, of course, interesting. Now, it does throw up Stealth Rock. When I was watching this battle over, I was assuming that meant that it would be Rest Mudsdale with a Chesto Berry. I think that makes the most sense. You know, Mudsdale does commonly take status from a Pokemon like Talonflame or an opposing Mudsdale, or a Stakataka even. So, you know, I thought no Cleric, you probably want Rest. And if, you know, see no item, Resto Chesto, pretty tried and true strategy. So we'll see if that ends up being it. A little bit of advice. Doesn't end up being that. Oh boy. And unfortunately, since this is a Wish Balance Mirror match, we're going to see a couple turns where it's just Wish, Switch, Wish, Switch. But let's try to narrate through these. Escavalier Mega Horns this for good damage. That takes the Wish. He always has to switch down to Vapo. And it's turns like this where we're going to see how stressed Alpha Rabbit's team does end up being as a result of him not having a cleric. This Mon being poisoned just kind of limits field time because you can't afford to let Toxic Poison stack up too much. You can't really just spam Wish Protect Scald like Vaporeon would normally want to do in a matchup where, to be quite frank, that is really effective. Like we said, you know, Rotom is his only resist to water on the build, and that doesn't want to take repeated Scalds, especially if it's choice locked. Now, we're going to see Rotom Mow also get poisoned here, and just like Stealth Rock, this poison is going to be relevant as we get to be like 45 turns further into the battle. We're going to see Rotom Trick, we're going to learn that these are just both Scarf Rotoms as a result, and Alpha Rabbit will make a good play here, winning the 50-50 on Volt Switch versus Leaf Storm. And Braviary does not take Stealth Rock damage, so we know that it's Boots. But what we're also going to see is its U-turn. So, Boots, U-turn Roost, Close Combat, Brave Bird, probably set we're dealing with, so that's some decent knowledge. And we're going to see that the horse also was actually Citrus Berry, which I thought would be kind of interesting. The mindset probably being Mudsdale is a common switch into knockoff anyway from Pokemon like, say, Drapion or an Escavalier, and so leftovers maybe not going to be as impactful as you would like them to be. So Citrus Berry, hope that you just end up getting the little burst healing instead. Could end up actually netting you more recovery overall in a battle than leftovers would. And Salazzle's going to boost. It does have to switch. Vaporeon's Scald is actually rather strong. This one has 110 base special attack. And so, without a Focus Sash, Salazzle is... I don't think it's cleanly O-code, but might be a damage roll. So he's going to switch out. Sylveon obviously was just going to look for a Wish Pass here. Escavalier should come out again. I lied, it's Duraludon, and Duraludon does make sense to go to here. You kind of do want to start getting some damage done to Goldcat's team. And this is your breaker. He does go for the Protect here, potentially just wanting to guarantee the recovery now on Sylveon. You are going to keep wanting to switch it into Vaporeon. That just is your best switch into its Scalds, because you don't want Rotom Mow taking even more damage. It's already really low, so with Scald plus 2 more turns of Stealth Rock, you're working at that point with like 10% HP, which is not really ideal. So secure the HP here, then just switch to next turn. This Flash Cannon damage does tell us that this is more than likely Expert Belt Duraludon. So that does have a potentially really good matchup here. The big thing you're going to have to just avoid is the Salazzle, because this Mon does not need a whole lot of chip damage to KO guaranteed with a Flamethrower. Anyhow, Talonflame, always going to be able to pivot into the Vaporeon versus Quag. Quagsire is definitely a huge issue for Alpha Rabbit's team. I mean, there's just not a whole lot that he has that matches well, especially with this not being Heal Bell, Rotom already being Toxic, and there not really being a great way to try to get a Toxic onto it of your own. You're really looking at relying on Mudsdale. This is maybe Will-O-Wisp. Actually, if it's Brave Bird, it's either Swords Dance or Will-O-Wisp Blast, more than likely. And even then, Sylveon's going to be Heal Bell. So, for preview, and just in seeing the sets reveal themselves, not a great matchup for Alpha Rabbit beyond the Duraludon. So we're going to see how far can this Pokemon carry him. It's going to involve him trying to get it in versus Sylveon whenever he can. So we're just going to have to guess how much he can maximize that Pokemon. We see the Drill Run from the Escavalier. Seeing Protect and Mega Horn, usually that means SD Protect, which is pretty reasonable on a non-Heal Bell team, I would say. I think even just non-Wish Pass team as well, Protect Swords Dance is the best variant of Escavalier, if you want to go for a Swords Dance variant. In general, I rate Protect really highly, though, if your team doesn't have Wish Pass, just to make sure you guarantee lefties recovery on certain turns. But Drill Run, of course, being run to try to hit Salazzle and Stakataka, in this case, using it to try to catch Staka. And now the Rotom comes in on a good Earthquake read, and Volt Switch plus Residual really keeping this low. He probably has to sack Stakataka here. He does, and he's going to take this, I assume, to get Lazzle in. Yeah, so Again, this can plot pretty freely. Actually, it doesn't even have to. I didn't realize how low Vapo had gotten, yeah. And you don't want to risk a plot, because if that Mon goes for Draco, well, you have lost the game guaranteed. And unfortunately, Alpha Rabbit's best way to revenge kill this Pokemon is by forcing damage and then going Rotom. Because Rotom is a little bit more important to keep around this game to try to, beat Quagsire down. Or just threaten it with the Oko. So it involves sacking Talon, and because Talonflame is just so weak, you don't actually get to KO it. Goldcat actually going to get a really untimely crit on him. That means his Rotom, it's gone. Unless he has Defog here, in which he does not reveal. He actually Volts, which I think's a... I think that's a misplay, actually. Well, nah. That's not a misplay because you don't want to give Duraludon a free switch. But it does mean now your Rotom is just going to be used for Death Fodder, which kind of sucks. I guess it's not the worst if you just want to try to get it in at some point against Duraludon, so you can then go Salazzle afterwards. And as we can see here, this Rotom, because Stealth Rock and the Poison from earlier have continuously been chipping at it, this Mon is going to be at like 7% the next time it comes in. That is absolutely huge. Rotom being the only way that Salazzle can't ever just click Flamethrower 4 times, or 3 I guess, and win. Really big for Alpha, so he's going to have to somehow really carefully manage that thing's HP. Let's see how this manifests. Anyhow, Sylveon again, just going to Wish Pass. He doesn't really have a lot of incentive to ever not click Protect here. You always do have Quagsire come in. That is such an aggressive Moonblast, wow. I don't think he had to preserve Mudsdale at this point, but it works out. I mean, now Quag should always come out here. Yup. I'm gonna double. Nope. The reason you can't double is because the Rotom is too low. You go Rotom, what are you doing? You're gonna go for a Leaf Storm to try to revenge kill that, and then the Salazzle's gonna come out, and it is going to Nasty Plot and win. So that's kind of the conundrum that Alpha Rabbit faces. His Rotom is so low on health, and Leaf Storming ever is just so bad for him, because the Salazzle can then come out and guaranteed win the game. And now we're gonna see for like 10 more turns, I think. Just sort of a trading of weak hits between the Escavalier and the Quag. I guess the Escav's Mega Horn isn't weak, but they're just gonna keep seeing trading of hits, and it's not gonna really do much. Duraludon finally gets a safe turn to come in. It is now officially in like guaranteed KO range from Salazzle Flamethrower, so that is pretty good for Goldcat. And unfortunately for him, he does have to sack Sylveon here. His 2 mandatory Pokemon to keep around are the Quag and the Salazzle. Basically, what this does for him is it puts Rotom-Mow in the worst possible position that he can manage. Rotom-Mow will always want to try to Leaf Storm on the Quag switch, but if you do that, your Rotom-Mow is... it's gone. You have lost the game as a result. So, it just makes that mod really, really bad. It really does not get to do a lot. And we're about to get to the most dreaded 50-50 I've ever seen. Maybe even outclassing the one from our Matang Chimecho one. So, turn 61. Rotom just took Stealth Rock. What are our options here? Well, this Rotom-Mow has revealed Trick and Volts, which we know it has Leaf Storm. And odds are Defog last, because otherwise, who's your Defogger? Usually Talonflame, if it runs Defog, it drops U-turn in favor. I've seen some drop the status move, but for the sake of argument, we'll assume the Rotom-Mow's Defog, and I can actually just tell you that it is too. So what are our options? Well, we could Trick. That sounds like a fantastic way to get Flamethrower 3 times and lose. Alright, let's not go for Trick. Well, we could Leaf Storm. Alright, won't kill this, and if Quagsire comes in, the Salazzle then clicks Flamethrower 3 times. Alright, excellent, excellent. Really liking how this goes. What happens if I Volt Switch? Well, that is where we start getting some potential awkwardness if you're Goldcat. Volt Switch on the Lazzle, you win the game. Because then Duraludon comes out, and assuming you land Draco Meteors, you will beat Quagsire down. Unaware will ignore your Draco Meteor special attack drops. Then you're gonna just get to keep using the move until Quag's gone. If you Volt into Quag, that is pretty bad though. Volting into Quag guarantees Rotom-Mow is out of the picture. That means Goldcat wins. If you defog... Ooh. So if you defog on Salazzle, obviously that's terrible. But if you defog on Quagsire, you keep Rotom-Mow around still. Now, those are Alpha Rabbit's options and what can happen based on Goldcat's response after. What can Goldcat do? Well, he has two options, Flamethrower or Switch. There's really no other two. Sludge Bomb makes no sense because, I mean, I guess you could, but why would you? Flamethrower does better damage against these two. Nasty Plot as well, just not an option, because why am I boosting versus this Mon when I guaranteed KO everything from the range? So I could Flamethrower here. The only time Flamethrower is bad is on a Volt Switch. Okay, pretty good move. I could go Quagsire here, and as we established with Alpha Rabbit's options, Quagsire is generally just good into those options. So if you're either player, it's easy to see what Goldcat should do here. Goldcat should just always go Quagsire. There's no losing line, or like immediate loss, that going Quag offers. You know, there's no double that Alpha Rabbit can make because of Stealth Rock. He has to keep Rotom-Mow around somehow. Like, you actively lose the game if you lose this Pokemon. You need it to always threaten or Revenge Kill. And if you go Quagsire and a Leaf Storm, like we said, Salazzle then follows up and just wins the game for you. If you block a Volt Switch, Salazzle wins the game. So Quagsire is just, in terms of this weighted 50-50, Quagsire is the right play. If you're Alpha Rabbit here, you got two options. You Volt Switch, thinking Goldcat gets greedy, or you defog. So why do we defog here? We defog because one, Rotom-Mow's going to take Toxic Poison here. It's going to leave it at 1%. This defog covered every option that Goldcat had because Flamethrower is so risky. Or, okay, it covered it covered the safest option. Because of how safe Quagsire is of a switch for Goldcat and how Goldcat has to keep their Salazzle around to win, it's very unlikely they make that Flamethrower play. Now, of course, again, Flamethrower would have still been a fine play. It's just so risky. Like, you risk losing a lot. And Quagsire technically could have still won if Salazzle got caught by a Volt. Let's not ignore that. If you were to dodge a Draco Meteor from Duraludon, maybe you would have been able to KO with Earthquake. I think you probably have to dodge multiple Dracos, but you could still win that scenario. But because this play isn't a losing play ever in any sequence, going Quagsire here is safe because, like we established, you can't double ever. You make this play, you defog because odds are they know Salazzle is mandatory to keep, and you need to still preserve Rotom-Mow. You gotta defog so you can bring it in again. And so that's what happens. And getting away those rocks is also super good for another 50-50 we'll get. Now, of course, this Rotom-Mow has to switch. It'll die to poison. Otherwise, Salazzle gets to come back in now and pick a KO. The Scavalier being the most useless mon because it's basically walled by Quagsire. That's one rabbit picked. And now here's another 50-50. But, again, this one, we know Goldcat, again, has to go Quag. They have to. You lose Rotom-Mow, you lose in real life. But this time, Alpha Rabbit can make a double switch because there's no Stealth Rock. So he gets to retain the presence of his Rotom-Mow. He gets to keep that Pokemon around now. Still threaten or Revenge Kill Salazzle. And he's going to win the game now because of that one double switch and the earlier defog. Now you're going to see Salazzle come out here. This is just Goldcat hoping for a miss because that is his only out at this point. He has to make the play there as well, by the way, because you need, what's it called? Well, we also have this. Yeah, he had to go off dodges anyway at this point. Had to go for the miss when Salazzle comes out. Yeah. Also, this is actually interesting. Apparently, Dura gets to -6, Salazzle lives, but yeah, the problem is Dura gets to -6. If you can't sack, you don't want to just sack Quagsire because then Rotom-Mow can Volt to revenge kill this afterwards always, so that's not really ideal. And Duraludon will always be able to take this one out over time. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that. I do agree you have to go for the miss, but I don't know what we're trying to do about getting to -6 to let Lazzle live. Regardless, Draco KO's there. That was an interesting game. This coverage took a while because I feel like there really was quite a lot to cover on that one turn. And I think it's incredible how one defog in the face of a Salazzle with a Rotom-Mow was optimal. I guess I feel like most people are going to look at that and be like, oh, we'll just Volt and hope. But when we talk about weighted 50-50s, what we're trying to get across is, yes, it's like one of two things is going to happen, however, which of those two things is more likely? It's sort of like if you had a die that you knew would only ever land on 2 numbers, but one of those numbers appeared 4 times and the other only appeared twice. That's basically the idea you're going for there. I hope y'all enjoyed this game and this coverage of it. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.